If you're gonna make an experimental film, you have to tell people it's experimental. Hello everyone, Riley here, and today's movie is First Reformed. Now, First Reformed is from writer-director Paul Schrader, who has written such films as Raging Bull and Taxi Driver, and was also the writer-director of American Gigolo, and it stars Ethan Hawke as a priest who starts getting these existential questions about the environment and how religion's place in the environment. And in this review, I'm going to go more chronologically through the film because I feel like that's the best way I can organize my thoughts on this. So the beginning of this movie is not great. It's a lot of heavy exposition told through narration, which just makes it really, really slow and drudging. And while the narration gets better later on in the movie as what he's saying just becomes more interesting, at the beginning it's a little too much and it just feels too long. So I feel like they could have trimmed like 5 minutes off of the beginning of this film. But once a certain point hits, I'm not going to spoil what that is, it starts picking up a lot quicker. And the next hour and 15 minutes is fantastic. You have some really great philosophical ideals that they are bringing up, some great commentary about the environment and how people are straight up destroying the earth, and can God forgive us? And is religion even helpful in this aspect? And how they looked at the day-to-day small life of a small preacher and how that was compared against the preacher who's been doing it for so long and is now like the head of churches, and how he operates more like a businessman, whereas Ethan Hawke operates more on a personal level with people, and how the kind of tension that brought up. I thought that worked really, really well. The pace of this part of the movie is great. It moves along at the right speed, bringing up ideas and giving them time to think, but not overstay their welcome. So you feel like new information is getting brought up in the right amount of time. And the second act of this movie is amazing. And this part of the movie really gets you engaged in the ideas, and it gets you ultimately really emotional about some of these issues that are going on and how they're just being ignored by a large majority of people. And it really gets that element hardcore. And even though it's not the most subtle film in its messages, it is very, very impactful in the way that it does it. And the acting is incredible. Ethan Hawke gives a great performance, as always. I mean, when is he not fantastic? Amanda Seyfried's good. The acting overall is really, really strong. And Ethan Hawke acts this movie insanely well, better than the script allows him to. And that kind of goes into what I feel about the third act of this film. Now, the third act has a transition to a more experimental style film, and there's a hard break and change in the tone of this film and in the subject matter. And Ethan Hawke makes you almost buy into it based off of his performance, but it's so jarring in the screenplay that you just can't buy into it, and it just doesn't feel consistently like one continuous film. Ethan Hawke makes you kind of buy into the character's change in ideology, but not enough to make it really justified. So the third act really kind of doesn't work, and it really feels off-putting of a lot of it, not in the way that they were anticipating. Now, the very last minute of this film, I have a love-hate relationship with, because it's more of an ambiguous ending. And I love ambiguous endings, pretty much no matter what. And it gave you just enough morsels to think you had an idea, but not enough to make you completely sure in one idea or another. And I loved it, but I wish there was a little more internal consistency within the last minute versus the couple of minutes before that. But overall, the end just didn't really feel earned. It didn't feel deserved because you didn't really buy into it that much. So it just kind of felt far-fetched and really just disturbing to watch, and not in a good way. So overall, I liked First Reformed. I would recommend you see it, but it's not as good or as great as I was hoping that it would be. So if you've seen First Reformed, drop down in the comment section below what you thought of it. And if you like this video, drop a like on it, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell right next to it. And as always, thanks for watching.